Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante Road Show. Obviously, I'm in a hotel room. I'm working in Hawaii. I've done a tour of shows on the Big Island and Oahu, which has been a lot of fun. Even some of you came out, so thank you for those of you who've come out to see the stand-up comedy. And below is a link to the Patreon. You can subscribe and like these, obviously, but if you support on Patreon, you're helping keeping this show independent. This isn't corporate media. No one's telling me what I can and cannot say. And it's directly for you guys. So I want to talk about something that's specific here to Hawaii, but it is affecting everyone here in America. It's about a bill. Tulsi Gabbard is a congresswoman that represents Hawaii, and she is introducing a bill at the House of Representatives to decriminalize pot on a federal level, which is a thing that's, in my opinion, is very important. I don't drink or smoke. I'm completely sober. I don't smoke pot at all, so this isn't me just, woo, let's get high. What the article goes into, and one of the things that I very much support, is decriminalizing it. There's so many things. First of all, there's every year the number of people that OD from marijuana is zero. Goose egg. Nobody does it. And yet there are 20 to 30,000 overdoses of prescription drugs every year. And I've talked about big pharmaceutical before, and if you remember during the primary, the major news networks like CNN and MSNBC and Fox pretty much gave Bernie Sanders, they'd cut away, as I've talked about, and I'm sure you guys know this, they would cut away from a Bernie Sanders speech to show like an empty podium for Trump and all this crap. Well, look who's buying ad time on those shows. Big pharmaceutical companies. Big pharmaceutical companies do not want legalized pot. They don't want it at all. So they're still sticking to this like gateway drug nonsense. And the other thing that's awful is an African-American kid is 3 times more likely to go to prison if he's busted with weed than a white kid. That's the other thing. The prison system is completely overrun with people smoking pot. It's complete bullshit, and that's the private prison systems, which I've talked about. I did a video on this. The private prison systems, they are controlling the government, of course. They're another giant corporation that lobbies for this, and so they need a steady stream of criminals. So why not make a plant illegal? But I'll go into the specifics of this because this is a congresswoman that, is representing Hawaii that we should pay attention to if she's doing this kind of stuff and trying to introduce an act to legalize pot. Because and I'll go into the specifics. I'll just go into the specifics. So U.S. Representative Tulsi Gabbard on Tuesday called for the decriminalization of marijuana at the federal level in a speech on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. Gabbard and Congressman Thomas Garrett, a Republican of Virginia, introduced the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act. FBI reports have shown that in 2011 alone, an individual in the United States was arrested for marijuana use, sale, or possession every 42 seconds, mostly in poor and minority communities. So it's what I've talked about. So that statistic right there, they're just using weed as a way to lock up poor people and minorities and put them in jail just for smoking a plant. And the hypocrisy is ridiculous. Look what is happening from just alcohol use, which is legalized. I do a joke in my act because I've been performing in bars and nightclubs my entire life that when someone, after somebody hits a certain amount of drinks of alcohol, they become a dick and want to fight, and people that smoke weed just want to find a PlayStation and a burrito. Like, no one. I've seen every night. I've seen what drunk people can do to a show, yelling, woo, even if they're having fun. They could ruin a show. Someone who's stoned stoners don't ruin shows. And there's some great statistics here. Carl Berquist, executive director of the Drug Policy Forum of Hawaii, said, "We want to have law enforcement resources for things other than arresting, prosecuting, and keeping people in pretrial detention for cannabis offenses. It's a waste of resources." Brickquist said he hopes the state legislature will take up an issue in 2018 and spare all those individuals that get lifetime criminal records and are not eligible for student loans, housing, and jobs. So see, that's the point. When someone goes to jail for weed, oh, then they have that, they can't vote, they can't participate in society, they can't get student loans, they get like all this, it's just then they are stuck in poverty and will probably then commit more crimes. Like actually harsher crimes. So this law is creating worse criminals. It's preposterous. And so there's a lot of stuff in here that there are 20, where's this? There are 20-some states that have decriminalized marijuana. There's 9 states, including the District of Columbia, and California is one of them, that has made recreational marijuana legal. But on the state level, it's still illegal federally. So like medical marijuana places and in California and recreational use in Colorado and other states, they can't accept credit cards, they can't use banks because banks are federally mandated. So they have to accept cash. It's crazy. And they're subject to getting held up and all this. It's another thing why the Fed should let this happen. So if the bill passed, it would make it easier for states to continue drafting their own legal guidelines relating to cannabis. It would also allow for medical marijuana dispensaries and their employees to open bank accounts and solicit loans. House Resolution 1227 was referred to the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security and Investigations for further consideration. So check this out. And pay attention. I'll put a link to this if I can below. I'm posting this right into YouTube, so the internet's not great for me to like edit and upload and do all this other stuff, but I'll put a link below to this article and pay attention to this and pay attention to representatives like both of them, Gabbard and Thomas Garnett. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Thanks for watching, you guys. Share this to your friends, and I appreciate you joining me in the fight. My name is Graham Elwood.